Hi, this is Matt Wagner, creator of Grendel and Mage at this year's New York City Comic Con, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
That's the sweetness right there.
That's the strength. Never underestimate the value of street knowledge.
It's a little prickly.
Hey, we don't talk about that for concerts.
Wow. I thought we don't talk about it at all.
You just brought it up.
I said prickly.
Okay.
You know, given our age and our demographic of our audience, we should try and get like a Cialis sponsorship.
We did that Insight jingle for Pat years ago.
I'm saying, but now though, I mean, we're squarely
right.
the little blue pill demographic.
I don't know about that. You speak for yourself.
No, listen, if any of us have it, it's you. But I mean,
Why? Just because I'm older?
Yeah, Blue Chew is everywhere. Holy shit! Yeah.
That's just fucked up. I don't think I want to go on, but I have to.
There's nothing wrong with taking some.
Pop one, you'll be good for a few hours. Don't worry about it.
I don't
I'm
even.
sure lots of people
on.
listening take it, and it probably helps them a lot. And on the real talk, since we're always about keeping it real, if and when I ever get a hint that it may be something that needs to look into, I'm ordering that shit. Like, why wouldn't you? It's widely available. It's over the counter these days. Like,
Yeah, so's heroin. It's not over the counter though. Hey everybody.
over the counter or legal, dude.
Hey, whatever. Hey everybody. It's 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 946, and I'm Vince B.
Ooh, you are Vince B, and I am David A. Price.
This is true, and of course, I am Derrick Henry, and I just scored the NFL's first touchdown of the year.
Oh, so you're using both sides of your brain tonight.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's the first game of the year.
So rude. You're not Derek, whoever you said you were. You're Jason
Henry.
Wood.
So rude.
Well,
So rude.
we got about 62% Jason Wood tonight, but it's better than none, right? And speaking of percentages, if you want to save money on your omnibus editions, trade paperbacks, manga, OGNs, all that stuff, there's only one place to go where the percentages of saving are very high, and that's cheapgraphicnovels.com. cheapgraphicnovels.com. They have all that stuff at the price you want to pay. If you are a first-time customer, here's what you're going to do. Buy something reasonable, right? Modest. And then you will receive an email message confirming your order. You're going to reply to that order saying 11 O'Clock Comics sent me. And you will be gifted with free shipping on your next order. It's like getting not one but two pizzas. Who doesn't love two pizzas of your very own?
I love all pizzas.
And I got it, well, except for Chicago. And I got to thank Max for being an awesome dude. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure.
So, cheapgraphicnovels.com. Get there.
Be square.
Yeah.
Oh, see. Jinx. Oh, okay. We gotta stop talking.
2 Cokes.
I don't even
One
know
for
what
each nostril.
you got to
Vince,
get your...
I can't wait for you to arrive at Casa Wood in about a month and change for our NYCC weekend together, because we currently, in the garage fridge, it is jam-packed with delicious...
I knew it.
IPAs.
I knew it. I knew you were going to go overboard for the hosting the fantasy draft.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so a little backstory there. I hosted our local league this year, and that's the first time I've hosted in over a decade, because there's 12 guys in the league, so some years we've had it like at a place, like a bar or something. So I literally hadn't had these guys over at my house, at least for this group, in over a decade. So I said, I'll have food and drink, but if you guys are specific drinkers of any kind, just bring your own stuff. So of the 12 guys that showed up, or 13 guys that showed up, 4 of them brought bottles of vodka, and they all basically just drank hard liquor. So I bought all this beer and wine that went undrank. So it's yours.
It's kind of messed up. What kind of vodka did they drink?
They drink a lot of vodka, dude. A lot.
Now, are these
Goodly
people
amounts.
who live within your community, or
Yeah.
are these from... Oh, okay.
This is all Smokehouse people. We started the league the year I moved in because a couple of the guys were subscribers to Football Guys, and then they were like, "Oh, we should do a league." And then we've been doing the league ever since. It's my most competitive league for sure.
Because they're homies.
Well, because it's local, right? And you see them, and you know what I mean. Like it's just, it's just that kind of like adds a little bit more hype to it. And then also the me being the quote unquote professional, the first 5 years of the league I didn't win ever, and they gave me shit, like increasingly amounts of shit, and I was starting to get feeling some kind of way about it. And then I've won 3 of the last 5 titles and been to the finals all 5 years. So I turned the ship around, starting to dominate like I should.
Nice. I'm drinking because I feel like I'm going to need it with you guys tonight. I am drinking the same thing that I was drinking during our special Book of the Month episode that you can only hear if you're a patron.
Sure.
Take heed the words of J.R. Bob Dobbs. Everybody needs the slack. You need more slack in your life. The only way to get more slack in your life, at least as far as 11 O'Clock Comics is concerned, is to become a patron. $5 a month.
Taylor.
Not slacks. $5 a month gets you the bonus episode. $10 a month
who's showing their age?
Gets you the bonus episode and access to the slack. Give yourself some
You
slack.
put on galoshes when it rains.
Slack is awesome. We have a lot of stuff going on in the Slack.
He doesn't want to hear about your dumb
I'm not playing your game tonight because I'm drinking from Southern Tier Brewing Company IPA. Cubed, as it were. Yeah.
Better than that third Alien movie.
Root Canal's better than that third Alien movie.
Not that you folks have seen Romulus yet, right?
Not yet. No.
I'm not going to. When it goes to streaming, I'll see it.
I was going to say, I'm the only one that didn't love it. Like, everybody else seems to have loved it, so.
Well, maybe everybody else is easy to please. I don't know.
No, I think some of these people are pretty... Anyway, well, yeah, that's neither here nor there. I am drinking water, and I have a bottle of Gatorade G2 that I haven't opened yet.
Whoa. Put the brakes on.
He hasn't opened yet. He's waiting for when he really gets stressed out.
Yeah.
He's got to come down.
Or when a touchdown happens. Then he'll be like,
Well,
we've already had 2 touchdowns. The Derrick Henry one and Xavier Worthy.
see, this is not right. Real talk, this is not right. If you're going to show up for work, you don't do something else.
He kind of is, though. He kind of is.
If we're measuring about the financial impact of my life, then I should be watching football, not talking to you tonight. So,
and come to the Slack, everybody. It's a great place.
Yeah, and send your applications for the third chair to admin@11o'clockcomics.com.
Admin.
HR.
Yeah.
Why do we keep saying the same shit tonight? Stop.
We'll keep your eye on the prize, bro.
Jesus.
It's because you're distracted. It's got to be.
No,
I'm
you
never
and I are
this smart.
in
You got
We're in sync. We're in sync.
That's true.
No,
it is true.
We're not new kids on the block. We're in sync.
I
We're
don't
in sync.
think you're in sync. At least Dap is focused. Dap, what are you drinking?
Well, just like you, Vince, I am sipping on the same thing I had when we were talking about that wonderful book known as Black Hole. Casillero del Diablo, a Cabernet Sauvignon from Concha y Toro, and it is from Chile.
Excellent. I'm going to have to bring us up and talk about something exciting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're in such a dour
lousy
mood
mood.
all the jokes, all the
So
jokes and
lackluster.
laughter.
Yeah, well, it's not scripted, but maybe it should be sometimes. I read a book today.
Oh my God, I want this all.
I read a book today. Well, actually, yesterday, because yesterday was New Comic Day. That it parted the gray clouds of misery. It showed me the sun. It said comics can be good at Marvel.
Oh, yeah. I have it on tap. Yeah. Okay, good. I want to hear about it.
There's not a lot of heavy lifting.
I didn't think so, but yeah.
Not with that title, no.
No. It's called What If. Who's not a sucker for What If? I think most of us have very, very fond
Phenomenal,
memories.
yeah. All-time greats, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But the Disney and Marvel are making more apparent their linkage, let's say, and they've been releasing a series of Disney Marvel mashups, which I think are great because the first one, written by Jason Aaron, Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime, was amazing. This is equally so. It is called what? It's not as long. It's called lengthwise. It's called "What If Donald Duck Became Thor." The plot is by Steve Bailing. The script is by Riccardo Secchi. It's illustrated by Giadra Perisinotto. Sorry. Color art by Lucio Ruvidotti. And I think Lucio, in my opinion, is the MVP of this book. I'll get to it. The cover is a pastiche of Journey into Mystery 83.
Are these original stories or are these translated? Did these appear overseas?
I don't think so, because in the credits section of the book, they make note of saying that there seems to be an edition BD after some people's names. Now, I don't know what that means. Whether this was a team up between Marvel and the Italian artists, or whether this was instigated originally by the Italian artists and Marvel's like, fuck, we can print that. I don't know. I don't know where this came from. But you don't question gold when it falls into your lap, Deb. And that's exactly what this is, because it is very fitting that the cover is a pastiche of Journey into Mystery 83, because the story is as well.
Ah.
Yes. Donald and the boys, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, are in Norway. And the boys are very eager to get their Junior Woodchucks medal for Ancient Viking Relics Explorers. And if you want to get an Ancient Viking relic, where do you go? Well, you go to Norway. So they're digging, and Donald does as Donald will do and hurts himself right as he starts working. So he broke a shovel, and Donald gets all pissed off and goes into the woods, leaving the boys to do all the work. And they're like, oh, yeah, probably did that on purpose. But anyway, while he's in the woods, guess what he sees? A landed flying saucer, out of which stream the stone ducks from Saturn. And they start turning shit into stone. Donald runs, finds a cave with a cane, smacks the cane. You know the rest of the story. Donald transforms into the mighty Thor. And he is obviously worthy because he does some good stuff with the hammer. Obviously it's a very lighthearted story, but the art is absolutely astounding. It's wonderful. Who never wanted to see Donald as Thor? Everybody, right? The ducks, the design of the stone ducks are great. They do this little hoodoo halfway through the story where they project the mental image of a space dragon to the Air Force. And then later on, you get a destroyer of sorts. I won't spoil it, but it's not the destroyer. It's a destroyer. And I'm telling you, this thing is just absolutely gorgeous. The reason why I said that, what's his last name? Ruvidotti was the most valuable player is because the colors in this book are exquisite. The backgrounds very often look like they were applied by maybe a very hard pastel or a Conti crayon. Like there's a texture to all the colors, and the textures bump up against each other, and it produces a very neat effect. Like stone has a very organic texture. It's just wonderful. And I was like, holy crap, like this is a cut above. You know, even the Italian imports that we see, I think this, you could tell somewhere within the minds of the creative team that this project was regarded as something special and not just another, like, we got to do another Donald story. I thought it was amazing. And then in the back, you get some bonus stuff. Jason will just eat that right up with a spoon. You get character roughs and cover roughs. And the next one It's on sale 11/6/24. Is What If Minnie Became Captain Marvel? And it's the Captain Marvel costume with the long streaming red ribbon-like things with the skirt. You know, the my preferred Carol Danvers Captain Marvel costume. This thing is great. Any of
That's
you
awesome.
guys read this?
Not yet. I
yet.
did a little looking up here while you were talking. So it's from the group is they're part of the Marvel Italia team,
Makes
and
sense.
I guess basically what they hired a bunch of Italian artists who are familiar doing the Disney characters, and they're putting out a bunch of these. So
It's
yeah.
awesome. There's a full page splash with Donald swinging Mjolnir in a circle. He's got his arm out, and it's an upward perspective. The energy's crackling, and the stone ducks you got the raised guns in their hands, and they're all agape because Donald basically kicks the shit out of them for, in a bumbling way. He has to actually find out what he can do and what he's capable of. But he finds himself to be just like Thor, incredibly strong, can summon the storms, can fly. It's just great. Lighthearted, good-natured, make you feel good all over the place, fun. That's what I wanted this week, and that's what this is.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great to
I
hear.
would if they when they do the inevitable collected edition of all these one shots, I implore you guys. I mean, I don't foresee the ones that haven't been published yet being inferior material. I mean, if the first two looked this good, wasn't there a Mickey Wolverine one?
Yeah.
When did that come out?
I think it's not. It's a couple weeks ago.
Damn it, I missed it. I got to get on that. But these are just glorious. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the end of July.
I can't see either a Disney or a Marvel fan not enjoying these. Like, if you just don't like funny animal comics, then these are not for you. But if you have any kind of history with the Ducks or the Marvel characters, like, these are just going to hit home. It was just an amazing, amazing read. I read it like 3 times. And it's not a complex, difficult read. No, it's just fun. I was looking at the panel composition and the way the colors were applied. Like, there's a lot to chew on here. It's just great. The stone ducks are dicks. Like, they go on a rampage just turning. They have plans to turn Earth into, like, I guess the things they sell, they can sell things that have been turned to stone as food. And they're going around turning things to stone and then sampling what it tastes like. It's funny. Get it. It's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, is it a bad omen that the first thing we lead with on a day when we all are going to collab on something, we didn't lead with the latest Brubaker and Phillips graphic novel?
Well, no, there's a story to be told about this in a way, because Dap and I were dead set on talking about it last episode with Matthew. And
Yes,
I started, and Dap just like, whoa. He put his palm right on my chest. And he said, whoa, brother, Jason wants to talk about this. And I was like, I don't care. He's not here. He forfeits. And Dap's like, no, we got to talk about it. So he stuck up for you. That's the reason why we're talking about it now.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Why was I not on last week's episode?
Matthew was on last week's episode.
No, I was not on last week's episode because you forgot that we were recording Wednesday night.
Preposterous.
And then because
No.
Dap and I were on the Discord talking to each other, and you didn't show up, we were like, all right, well, then I guess you guys can do it without me tomorrow, because I said I can't do it Thursday.
So we're now in creative writing 101? I didn't know. I would have brought my notebook.
Let's not act like this is some, planned absence on my part. Anywho.
It's a fantasy.
It's good to know that Dap is real family. He's Dom Toretto. It's good to know.
No, he just didn't want to get berated after the fact. Like, because you'd come down on him. Because
of
I'd give
course,
you a fight.
Yeah, that's me. I just lash out at people.
Yes.
What did we think? We're talking about Houses of the Unholy. Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, assist by younger Phillips.
Assist?
As you,
I think it's way more than that at this point.
Yeah, colors.
Yeah.
Colors by. I mean, we've been waiting with bated breath. It's a non-reckless book. It is a completely standalone book, and it is. We were promised that it would be a different genre. I'm not so sure. I feel a little bit of false advertising there, but we get into that. Um, but it is certainly a different slice of crime comics, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's more akin to Fatale than anything they've published since Fatale. And I'm not saying thematically, I mean tonally.
Right.
It's a darker story. There's occult elements in it. I wish he stuck the occult stuff in every story, but then that wouldn't be true, right? He does love the crime. And I think he does enjoy the occult and the esoteric stuff, but he probably budgets himself because he doesn't want to be that guy, I don't think. That, weird fiction, which is okay. But no, I thought I was reading it and I'm thinking, all right, I don't want to call Brubaker formulaic by any means, but have you noticed that his protagonists are either searching for something or running away from something? That's pretty much the standard Brubaker protagonist.
Yeah.
There's really not a whole lot of wiggle room. I mean, it's,
I mean, where the body was may have been
I didn't even read that.
slightly, but yeah. But I mean, as far as I think it was Night Fever.
Right.
Yeah, he was definitely looking for something. Someone's always looking or running away from something, and
Ethan's always on the
Criminal or
hunt.
Reckless.
Yeah.
Right. And this did feel like it could have been a Reckless story. Not that anybody was a stand-in for any of the characters,
Right.
Whether it was Ethan or our girl, but it just evoked that a little bit for me. As I'm like halfway through, I'm like, this feels like a case that Ethan could have picked up, or someone could have like I would have expected like Ethan to be in the background getting in his vein or something. It was very reminiscent of that, more so than his last couple of books, than their last couple of books.
Yeah.
I think what you said, like, I was thinking about that line of thinking in a similar vein, which is that, I mean, we have sung Brubaker and Phillips' praises an inordinate amount of times in the last bunch of years on the show. So certainly we're all, I think, on record as bona fide fans of their work, and have even said they're, if they're not already, they're fast approaching sort of the pantheon of all-time greats as a partnership. But I do think, and I don't want this to come off as an insult, but I think that your point about the formulaic is valid in the sense that I think Brubaker writes a particular type of story exceptionally well, and it's this crime, this solo angsty crime, like all of his stories have that same structure, and he does it incredibly well, and he puts different pastiche around it, and it works almost every time, if not every time. And that's very different than someone like a Alan Moore, or more contemporary like a Jason Aaron, who have written lots of different genres, from humor to horror to action to superhero, right? It's a no, like, there's nothing wrong with being really great at one thing and mastering it versus being good at lots of things. I mean, it's like the mile wide, inch deep type of a thing. So it's like, it's not a problem. But yes, I do think Brubaker is just exceptionally good at one type of story. I would love to open up one of these in the coming years and be completely gobsmacked at everything about the story, like structure, genre, tone, the lead character being of a different type. Like, I would love to see him stretch those muscles. I'm sure he's got it in him.
Yeah.
But I'm with you that, like, it would be really exciting to come in seemingly every 6 months, and the next time we talk about it, it's like not a lot of the same things that we liked about it, but we go back and rinse repeat, just with a different kind of veneer on it from Phillips's drawing, and more just like, oh my god, this was a completely different structure, plot, tone. Like, I would love to see that at this point. I'm clamoring for a little bit of, like, vibrance from Brubaker.
Yeah, I thought the ending to this reminded me a lot of Too Old to Die Young. in the fact that that show, or the various plot threads of that show, were never really tied up. Like
I never watched it, so I can't speak to it.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's a very you really have to be in the mood for it, because there are scenes that go on for 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know how Jason would take to it.
Yeah. But meaning that I think the ending to this Houses of the Unholy is very, very brave in the sense that it's almost like a choose your own adventure type ending. I have an idea how I'd like it to have ended, but it's not spelled out for you. There's no pertinent details other than the fact of who's in the room, what state they're both in, and the fact that there are people coming to find them, hopefully. I mean, you don't know, were they found? Were they... I don't really want to spoil it for those who haven't read it, but there are a lot of unknowns at the end of this story. And I think the average reader is not going to embrace that kind of ending. Because there's a lot of discussion about this book online. What do you think happened at the end? Oh no, that couldn't possibly happen. This is what I thought happened. And I like those types of endings because like Twin Peaks season 3, if anyone has seen the ending to that. Yeah, okay, what was Lynch saying? And if you ask Lynch to his face, he either won't tell you or he'll just, he'll dance around. He will not define his work. And I think it's great when an artist is willing to do that because they have complete faith in their characters and what they've done. And some things don't need to be spelled out. If you think Agent Cooper and Laura have a chance at coming home after season 3 or at least returning to where they should be, then that's great. But Lynch is not going to say, and I doubt there'll be a season 4 because, many, many different factors. But anyway, I think this book is along the same lines. You can plot Natalie Burns' fate at the end of this in the manner you see fit.
Right. And to that point, Natalie Burns is the protagonist of this. We should set up. I mean, she was as a child, she was one of a group of kids they became known as the Satanic Six because they were they all professed to have been ritually abused by people with satanic overtones, and that was then debunked, and so they were sort of infamous. Well, they were infamous. And somewhat pariahs, and they've all gone their separate ways, and now 3 of the 6 have been murdered. And so an FBI agent shows up to find her and says, we have to find the other 2 and try and figure out what's going on here, and they go on this adventure to do so. There's a lot... Go ahead.
No, I think it's very important to frame it in the era of the Satanic Panic.
That's what I was about to say.
There's boogeymen hiding behind every door. Everybody wanted to possess your children and turn them to the dark side. People were scared, and one of the things
I wonder if our young readers, our younger readers, realize this was our lifetime. This is this book is my contemporary, right? Like I was a child at this period.
Look at Bronze Age Marvel. The devil and his son are everywhere, and his daughter are everywhere in Bronze Age Marvel. But the thing I was smiling because Michelle Remembers is a real book.
Oh yeah.
And the very title, Houses of the Unholy, and some of the chapter heads, My Sweet Satan. It was said that if you spun, I think it's Stairway to Heaven. If you spin Stairway to Heaven backwards on a turntable, Robert Plant was said to sing My Sweet Satan. Whatever. It was just a way to make life interesting, I guess. But one of the outcomes of this trial was that the kids were manipulated into saying that they were molested and ritually abused by one of their own. This kid. who fed them all the information that either he thought the adults wanted to hear or things that he perceived in the real world, because the media was ablaze with satanic related stories, and books were cropping up everywhere that it was middle America's fear that the devil was a very real thing and it was coming for their children. And so either he was parroting things that he heard or someone influenced him to say that. But the horrible thing was that some of these counselors died as a result. Like one or two of them committed suicide. It
was a modern day Salem witch trial, really.
Yeah, they lost their jobs.
Guilty by accusal, not by, you were guilty if you were accused.
But the thing was, they quote lied, which I have something to say about that. We will get to it later. But so they lied on the stand, and it affected the lives of these counselors. And then when the truth came out that they fabricated the whole thing, the Satan Six, or the Satanic Six, these children were ostracized by their friends, by their peers, by the adults. I mean, they were just they became, black pariahs. And life wasn't easy for them. Mm-hmm. Any of them, yeah. So go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, I was going to say it's weird how you have these memories, right? Like, I mean, I can't say I remember too many specific days or moments of my early childhood. I mean, right, time passes, but I have a vivid memory of being in Walden Books and Quaker Bridge Mall in New Jersey, where I would often beg my mother, and we would go to the mall, to go and get books or comics at Walden Books. Back in the day, folks, there was no such thing as Amazon. You had to buy your books physically at a store or go to the library. But I remember looking at the fantasy section, looking for different, like, choose your own adventure, and there it was the D&D stuff was there, and next to it was an entire thematic row labeled on religion and satanic studies. It was tons of books about Satanism and satanic, and most of them about, like, the evils of it, right? Not like how, but, and I remember as a kid being fascinated with it and begging my mother to buy a few of them. And she didn't let me, but I was like, but it was just, but to your point, like, I think people need to realize this was like a real thing. Like, this wasn't like a random little thing in small town, right? Like, this was all across the nation, just like we're all afraid of getting blown up by nuclear missiles. Tons and tons of people believed genuinely that there were satanic cults running around, like, all over the place.
Well, every hero needs an archenemy, right? Superman needs
Absolutely.
Lex Luthor. God needs the devil, or it just doesn't work. It's imbalanced.
And that's where I think the best work that Brubaker does in this is bringing that reality that we lived through as kids forward into current times and making it feel pertinent, because now we have a world that can and is swayed by online forums and communities of people you don't really even know, like, brainwashing you into believing in conspiracies. And juxtaposing the modern day online conspiracy theorist with the much more pervasive sort of soft conspiracy buy-in that people had back then, where people talked about it, but they didn't, like, there were too many people who were, like, legitimately banning their kids from, listening to, but there were some. But I thought it was a really interesting juxtaposition of the times and how similar they are in that vein. Like, that's what I think is the strength of this book, honestly. I thought that was really smart. And if anything, But all that said, and I'm curious to hear Dap's thoughts, but I just want to say, like, I thought that this book, of all of the Brubaker books, this one, I guess I saw coming a mile away. Like, the instant we meet a few of the other characters, like, literally the first panel I see them, I think, oh, they're in on it. Like, I was like, this is pretty obvious. Like, they're in on it. Like, it's not, like, I knew it. Like, so there was this book did not surprise me in any way, shape, or form, and that's fine. Like, it didn't need to. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the book, but there was no, in as much as there was supposed to be a hook or a gotcha or an aha moment or a big reveal, I didn't find that to be the case. I don't know where you guys are at with that.
I don't try to, well, I shouldn't say that, because they are mysteries, right? They are crime infused mysteries. So I do try and pick out the clues and play along at home, but it's ridiculous. I don't want to I don't want to drag the lake too much, because then if I am in on it like you, then I know the ending, right? If I do, get the red string and connect the pin, it just ruins it for me. So I try and pay attention to that kind of stuff, but part of me holds back because I want to be surprised.
Right. My brain. That's not possible for me.
Well, you're an analyst.
Yeah. I'm an analyst, but in all parts of my life, so I just can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how
I
my
think
brain works.
I think we've also read enough by Brubaker that we're kind of not that I'm looking for it again. I mean, like, if it's on the page, it's on the page. I don't go in thinking, okay, let me see if I can figure this out before we get to the end.
Right.
But
exactly. Yeah.
it does kind of just I've gotten to the point where it's hard for me to trust anyone in his books. Nobody is going to be really forthcoming. No one's going to be super truthful. And so there's always going to be something behind what they're saying, and I may play along and guess that. I was, I guess, not mad, just disappointed about the brother. I would have liked to have seen it go a different way, but he was just in too deep, and that was upsetting. And I read this even before some text yesterday, but it was one of those things.
Say close to home, a little too close to home.
Well, wait. Before you, what about the brother made you feel bad for his fate?
No. I didn't feel bad about his fate. I felt bad about his actions. I was hoping that the brother would have done the right thing instead of what he actually did.
Right.
Because family's family. But he's the type of person where he is that easily manipulated and gullible and just fell in with the wrong crowd. And I mean, and that's prevalent today, but,
you call it incel, right?
Yes. Yeah. Or even everybody who swears that what the Republican candidate doesn't lie, the nominee, and everything he says is fucking factual. So I get it, but pretty much every character, except for the heroine of the story, I was riding along with her, but pretty much everybody she met, I was giving the side eye to. Nobody sat right with me in this book. And, probably because of that, I enjoyed the subject matter. This was one I was looking forward to because of the area it was in. I mean, I lived in Arizona, but it's been years since I've been to the West Coast. So whatever Ethan is dealing with in Reckless, I based on history, I've read about these situations, whatever event of that year he might be relaying when he's uncovering a mystery. I recall certain things. I didn't live it, but at least I recall it. This was very much I was aware of when I was growing up. So I was really looking forward to seeing how this was going to play out, or what he was going to do with the subject matter, and how he was going to weave this tale. But after I was a little down on where the body was. I enjoyed this more, but I don't know how much more. I want to read it again. I'm gonna let it sit, and I want to get back to it maybe during the holiday break, but just to see how it lands with me again. But at first read through, it didn't knock me on my ass, and that's partly because we're spoiled with these three.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got all these Reckless books behind me. We've got Pulp. We've got all the criminal stuff. Like, I mean, we've even if I feel like something was lacking, or I thought it may not have been a home run, it's still better than a majority of what we can pick up off the shelf these days.
Exactly,
so I'm not upset
sure.
that this is in my collection, but I've been on such a high with these creators that anything that doesn't live up to my stupidly leveled expectations doesn't knock me on my ass, and still doesn't mean it wasn't a solid read, but but yeah, I like I said, that's why I want to just give it some time and look at it again with obviously not super fresh eyes, but at least give it some time to sit and see where see if I pick up anything or how it reads the second time through. But
Hmm.
it's still it's still a great effort from these guys, and I don't I don't think anybody should be without it. I'm sure if you're a Brubaker and Phillips fan, you already have it. But yeah, I thought it was great. Um, just not as great as I thought it was going to be sight unseen when I ordered it months ago. But um, art's fantastic. I thought I thought there wasn't a whole lot that was too far fetched. Everything. I mean, the cave in might have been a little out there based on the way everything else was going, but you're dealing with dynamite and all that shit happens. But um, I I am surprised at how much I did enjoy the ending because there wasn't anything so concrete and definitive, and I like that, especially because in part with the subject matter, because you don't know back back then, who was telling the truth, who was lying, what was actually true, who was taking advantage of whom, and it just the ending played in for me with the rest of the book. So I really did enjoy the ending more than if you just told me what the ending was. I wouldn't shrug, but I'd be like, oh, that sounds interesting. But I mean, seeing how it played out, I really enjoyed the end of it.
You call me the odd man out, but I like this as much as the Reckless books.
Interesting. Okay.
But and I think the narrative is so cleverly manipulated, just like our heroine, that you can approach it from different angles. You can believe that the children were just came up with the story based on that one child. What was his name? Blake?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You could believe that Blake was just making it all up and they never were abused. And the whole satanic angle was just in his imagination. But there are a group of people that are hell bent on getting Natalie in this story. They will kill. They will do anything they can. They plant a dude in her vicinity that lies to her and tells him he's an FBI agent and he can pull some strings and get the charges reduced if she'll only come with him and help root out the murderer of the Satanic Six, and it's all just a complete lie to get to position her within the clutches of these people that seem to believe that what they're doing is real. They're totally convinced that the people that don't believe are the wrong ones. Oh, you're just bamboozled by the system, and you'll believe all the lies, just like the sheeple. And you'll see Natalie's going to turn that key and open that door. She's the one, and they believe. So I like to think that either possibility could be true in this book. These kids could have been ritually abused, and someone got to Blake and told him to tell them exactly what they wanted to hear, meaning hiding in plain sight. Like if the one that especially in those single page flashbacks that you see characters dripping with blood and they're nude and there's a ritual dagger in one, and there's implications of satanic sex going on and stuff. Like, what if that was real? And these kids have been manipulated.
Right.
Not only when they were young, but and the ones that didn't want any part of it were murdered. And they were down to one last kid, meaning Natalie. Because that's why I love the ending, was because she has been told so many things over the course of her life that she does not know what to believe. So I think at the end, she just says, well, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and accept what happens as the truth, because I don't know what the frig to believe. So if I just chill with my dead brother and wait to see what happens, at least that'll give me some kind, like if they come and kill me, whatever, I don't care. That's the ending. That's my ending. And so I think it makes total sense that he didn't continue that dotted line to, the conclusion that, and spelled it all out, because now it has an ambiguity to it, just like her very life did.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think this is, I don't know. The Brubaker's a real sharp dude, because the story's littered with set dressing that may not resonate with people, younger people, but there's a Jack Chick tract in here. Brendan's reading Chariots of the Gods. There's a section where he invokes the Pale Horse, which leads right back to Bill Cooper, a conspiracy theorist who believed all this stuff. So, I mean, say what you will.
I give Sean credit for that too, by the way, because I think Sean does a lot of that. Like he's really into making it look realistic. But yeah,
okay. But and the whole Led Zeppelin 4 being the record that they were spinning backwards, like the fine details that they do matter in terms of the story, but the specifics don't really matter. He could have been reading a book with a fictional title, but he has him reading Chariots of the Gods, meaning that everything you've been told throughout history is a lie. And that makes me think that maybe the whole satanic angle is real. But you don't know. You can formulate the conclusion as you see fit, because Blake is totally convinced at the end when he's talking.
Well, they all are. All those people there,
right? They're possessed. They're driven to make this happen, and that, I don't know. Like I understand conspiracy theorists are infused with the sense of cracking open the ruse and showing the moldy innards of reality. I get it, but I just think they're too convinced that what they believe, and I guess you can look out the window and there's a lot of people like that today. So I don't know.
I was going to say, like, I think part of what you're describing here is not surprising to me, because you tend to relish in and have a big heart for conspiracy theories in general, right? Like,
I do.
You're fascinated by them. Yeah.
What's to be gained in telling us the truth?
No, that's what I mean. So you clearly, like, that would be an angle you would take reading this for sure. I have two, I guess, for my imparting thoughts. One, let's give a round of applause to Natalie, because she's got a kicking body for a 50-year-old woman. I mean, Jesus God, like, there aren't many.
And she was excited.
She was DTF, right? Let's be honest about that too.
What is?
But no, for real. I mean,
got it.
Yeah,
I didn't know what the acronym meant, but I got it.
Yes. But the other thing, and this is, I mean, I don't want this to be hot takey, because, again, I hope I'm on record as loving Sean Phillips's art, and I just bought 2 pages of his art 2-3 months ago. So, I mean, I talk the talk here, but for me, this subject matter was awesome, and I think it looked exactly as I thought it would, because Sean Phillips draws the way he draws. But because of the subject matter, personally speaking, I would have preferred seeing this book done by someone who is less realistic in their approach, such that when we got the satanic and the occult stuff, it was more mind-blowing visually in the way that you can do in a comic that you can't do on the screen without spending $200 million, and you can't do in prose. And again, I don't want this to come off like I'm insulting it. I'm just saying, like, I really enjoyed the visuals. It's Sean Phillips, but there were moments where I thought, okay, yeah, like, this is exactly how Sean Phillips would draw, like, a satanic ritual, and it looks great in that regard. But I was imagining, like, what Matthias Bergara's version would be like, right? Because I'm like, someone that's willing to just kind of like clear their mind and then go crazy, or Matthew Allison, right? Like, what would he draw this to look like? And again, that is not a fair criticism of someone, because the job is the job, and he did a great job. But just for me, I guess, because so much of their work is grounded in reality, I think I really appreciate Sean's art, because he's so good at drawing reality without it looking like photo reference. And in this case, even though, yes, it's also based in reality, there's enough of the mystic and the spiritual that you could have, at least with the hallucinations and the flashbacks and the memories, you could have gone a little crazy visually if you had a different approach.
Brubaker, I'm sure you realize this. He never adjusts his focus. It's always crystal clear, right? So you would need, in order to push that notion home, that some of the events in this book are like teetering on the line of fantasy and reality. I'm perfectly happy with the way it looks now. I think it looks great. But if Tomb of Dracula era Gene Colan illustrated this, you would not know what was real and what was not.
Right.
Because he had that penchant for blurring that line and making you think like, I don't know.
Or some of the Mignolaverse artists, right? Like imagine if they had taken a
you know what I mean? Yeah, but you need somebody that can soften that focus and get a little messy with the mark making. Brubaker or Phillips doesn't do that. His line is always that line, and I don't blame him because he's got a wonderful line.
100%. That's the thing. It's like this is not like, again, it's like it's a master doing amazing work. But because we have the advantage of reading lots of comics and knowing lots and lots of different art styles, this is like the first time where I've read one of their books and thought I'd like to just like see a different version visually, like just to see how that would have worked. But again, it's a minor nit.
I'm out. I don't agree with you on that, but okay.
That's fine.
I mean, we're good.
Fine. Yeah.
It's different strokes.
I was reading this wondering how Ed really feels about potheads, because they seem to be either just completely oblivious to the world around them.
He is a recovering addict. So
You're right.
Probably pretty straight edge on that stuff. And again, I'm not talking out of school. I only know that obviously because he said it in public interviews. It's not like I know the guy personally.
Right.
But, yeah.
Well, last time I talked to him, yeah.
And so, I don't want people to hear at me and think I'm like trying to blow this guy up. Like I know, because he's very.
No, you do your homework. You get it.
Yeah.
I think maybe though part of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, subject matter really roped me in, because this is my jam. I remember.
Yeah.
It was the era where everyone was afraid of the devil, but I think it was a much more liberal time than it is now, because I remember specifically 9th grade coming into class, and I brought the Satanic Bible by Anton Szandor LaVey. I had it right on top of my stack of books. Teacher saw it. Kid in front of me saw it. Everybody, people were looking at it. Nobody said boo. Nobody sent me to counseling or questioned, whether I was a little off or not. It was just like, oh, he's reading that. I mean, the guy in front of me who was an altar boy was like, why are you reading that crap? I said, because it's interesting. It interests me. And that was it. It wasn't like I'm going to kick your ass after school or I'm going to pound the power of Jesus into you. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, he's a little weird and he's reading that stuff and I wouldn't read it. So, to each his own. But now I think it's more of a time of witch hunts than it was in the 70s. If that could, even with the framing of the whole late 70s, early 80s satanic panic, right? People were just,
I don't know.
They were more hands off back then.
Yeah, right. We're just more connected to it. We're more aware of.
Right.
I think
nobody went on social media and said,
right.
Vince is a fucking Satanist because he's reading this book, because it didn't exist. But I'm sure that there were like, yeah, he's a little strange because
that's what would happen today is some parent would say, oh my God, I heard this kid had a satanic book in his school, and the school allowed it. How dare they? And then half the time be like, we got to fire the superintendent. The other half of the time be like, we all relax and it's a thing, right? Like, yeah.
I didn't force your kid to read it. He took it off my stack and looked through it. So maybe he's a little more curious than you want to give him credit for, Mom.
That being said, I think socially speaking, the 70s were far more reclusive and puritanical. The 80s rather. Were
really?
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Dude, people
just think about socially. Just think about how far we've come socially in terms of what's acceptable in the public domain and not now in terms of.
Oh, sure. Not being a gay man. I can imagine that it was much more difficult back then. But in terms,
also our country's at least publicly way more secular now than they were. Way more people in the 80s, even if they weren't really religious, proclaimed to be religious because it was the thing you felt like you had to do for your career. And
I had a friend in middle school. His name was Larry Claggett, and his father was a Baptist minister. And Larry loved The Shadow and Doc Savage, had all the paperbacks. So I would occasionally borrow one and read it, and he would stop over the house to pick it up on his way back home from school. And one day I spun back a record in his presence, and he ran out of the house like the devil himself was in there. And I you know, and I had a good laugh, but I mean, I basically tormented the kid, knowing that he was very devout and his father was a Baptist minister. And when that music started, when it started spinning backwards, he was like, he just dropped whatever he had in his hand and he just flew out my house.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's me.
I love it.
Right? That's me. That's what I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I was just, the next day I was like, buddy, I was just kidding you. He goes, you don't mess around with that stuff. Don't tempt the devil. And I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah,
the devil wants to come over. He's welcome anytime.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think the part of where, if whatever clues were there, I think what really hammered it home for me, as far as not being able to trust anybody, were the scenes in the house when Agent West is able to get free and rescues Natalie, and they leave the house. That was just way too convenient, with absolutely very few things said in the way of an explanation. So again, I was just following, wasn't looking, but they were just kind of there again, only just based on other Brubaker books we've read. But I also wonder if the last chapter, the title of the last chapter, gives away what actually happens at the end of the book. Because the last chapter is called Natalie Burns in Hell.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Well, I think she may wanted to have chosen that ending for herself. Just to, at least it would be definitive, and it would be something on which she could, it was a finality. It was a resting place, like, because she didn't know either way what was going on. At least that, okay, this is my fate. I accept it. Yeah. It's such a great ending. I don't know specifically what happened at the end, like whether or not the cult members found them, or brought her back and killed her, or sacrificed her, or she got away, or maybe the police showed up. I don't know. What I do know is that whatever the ending was, she willingly accepted it because it was real.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that in her face, in the shadows. And the typical Brubaker stuff. Even though she's dealing with this, her brother is dying next to her, we still get a couple of panels of her recalling this dude Harold, who would every Sunday would just spew from his book over on the beach and hang out with her.
His little arms too
at the bookstore, right? He just, especially with his gold chains. It's like my man's got a Napoleon complex going on. This is great, but it's like completely random, out of the blue. I'm just going to recall this moment, and it's just it
makes you wonder, right?
I love it when he does things like that, because
he specifically said John D. Said John D. in the book. Like, I would guarantee that at least 80% of the readership has no idea. Well, I'll be generous.
I'm sure.
At least 70% has no idea who John D. was.
And for anybody who doesn't,
Google it.
Okay.
And the rabbit hole will open. Yeah.
And it's D-E-E. It's not like it's John and then just initial D.
Right.
It's John D-E-E.
Like nuts, like these nuts.
Yeah. He was one of he coined the term British Empire. So everything, imperialism, all of that concept is drawn back to John D. He was also a magician. And he's fascinating. But he is one of the touchstones of magic with a K. Just Google John D. And you'll see. I don't want to get into it now because it's not appropriate, but yeah.
And while you're Googling John D., head over to Geographic Novels and pick up Houses of the Unholy.
Yeah. I had to laugh, though. The part where Agent West stands up. He's like, "Those motherfuckers! They branded me. They tattooed me." It's like, wow, what they had so much time to do that very intricate maze with the
maze
eye
work
in the
is
middle. It
amazing.
really, it was just funny. And she's like, "Oh, my brother has one of them." Yeah,
Then we get introduced. Oh my god!
yeah.
It-
Good book.
That's what I'm coming at. That stuff was like small in the nose. That's what I mean. It was like, okay.
right?
Well,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
sometimes
I
on the
guess-
nose is fun though, because there's really no other way to do it, right? I mean,
And it
there
kinda
needs
just
to
takes
be.
out the guesswork.
If you're doing a book that the narrative includes a satanic cult bent on unleashing evil into the world, of course they're going to have a iconography. They're going to have a sigil of some kind. So yeah, dude got it carved into his chest. Whether it was last week and they just instigated it, or was like at the moment, who knows? But it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this would make a great movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
And on that page when he reveals his new ink, kudos to Phillips for this, because the elder Phillips, because the sigil is pretty much slightly off to the left of center of on the page, but Phillips basically drew the character from head to torso to waist on the page, but then puts panels in front of, and the way the angle of Paul's head, like it looks weird, but it absolutely makes sense. Other artists might black that out or just kind of focus on the chest area and not even show the rest of the body. But I mean, you get his head obscured behind a panel, but it's there, and those are the little things that I don't necessarily look for, but I definitely appreciate, because Jacob could have come over and completely black that out, or just kind of move things around if they wanted to do something. But it's there. It looks weird, but I love the fact that it's there, because he's standing there. But we have a couple other scenes also to show. I dig that.
I said sigil, but it's not. That's wrong. It's not really a sigil. It's more like a symbol, because there's this very specific purpose for a sigil. That this ain't it. But yeah, I think it's sharp looking. It's nice. It's nice design.
We could get that next
Yeah,
time.
get that on my chest.
There you go.
Yep.
Even get the blood dripping from it, like you have it tatted on.
I'm not a bleeder. I'm a clotter.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't bleed. My blood is definitely not thin. Yeah. So what else do we have?
That's sausage gravy in your blood.
Sludge.
You joiks. What do we have?
What do we have?
Well, I see that Dap and I both finished another miniseries, a 5-issue miniseries this week.
No, but it's 6 issues.
Oh, it's not. No, that's right. No, never mind. Yeah. Actually, I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, it's not finished, because I read
So it was a week
I was
of
like,
penultimates.
Yeah,
because
yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
Absolute Power and
we got one
Get
more
Fury
issue,
and
yeah.
Grendel, but yeah.
I guess I was
Although
hoping
we-
it was finished, but yes, it's not.
But I did enjoy. I enjoyed the 5th issue, because we actually get. I mentioned last time when I was talking about the 4th issue that for a book titled Get Fury, we only got Fury in one panel at the beginning, and it's a flashback. But here we actually get to see Fury do some Fury type shit.
This book has been a real slog for me. I mean, it's like so out of character for me of Garth Ennis, like Punisher Fury, like. I don't know if it's not.
It's a
I mean, I love
story.
like Jason Burrows' art's fine, and like it's not. I mean, it's not quite Warren Parloff, but who is? But I mean, man, oh man, there's a lot of talkie in these books.
There is a lot of talking. Holy shit! If I hear about these goddamn CIA or
I'm saying it's like, geez, like I mean,
Wow.
yeah, no, I mean, again, it's not a bad comic. Like it's not a poorly constructed comic, but it's like interesting choices, because again, like you have an unlimited budget in comics to tell this crazy story that you wouldn't be able to do in other mediums. But instead, we're doing a one scene play. Ben is zooming in on like his daughter and his girlfriend and the general, and we're hearing this dialogue and monologue. It's like, all right, man, like cool. And I realize a lot of these characters were in the other series, which is why it's like not a complete out of nowhere. But like, man, I figured like this was. I figured if Ennis was coming back to this world, this Punisher Fury Max world, like it was going to be, fucking like like an encore, right? Like amped it up to 11, and maybe that's what the sixth issue will be. But yeah, so far it's been
I think it probably has to because they're walking
yeah.
into an ambush of sorts. So yeah, they're going to have to do something. But it's not a if you are a depending on how hardcore of a Punisher fan you are or Frank Castle, then uh, this may not be the book for you. I mean, if you are a Punisher fan, you are probably reading it anyway just to be a completist. But yeah, as far as other events, other stories that the Punisher that Frank Castle has been a part of, and even Fury. I mean, it's just we're not getting as much of either character that I would like for a 6-issue miniseries.
Agreed.
Well, let's throw a little bit of love Garth Ennis' way while we're at it.
Let's do it.
Jason, you read both issues of Hello Darkness, correct?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Was
Very
Garth
sorry,
Ennis
second,
and
yeah.
Becky Cloonan's The War not the standout strip?
Oh,
Interesting.
absolutely.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it didn't feel like a horror story, though. It just feels like
I think
a current
Nuclear
event story.
Annihilation
I mean,
is a pretty horrific.
we're just. I mean, but we're just seeing people talk about what's happening, like they're seeing it on the news. Like that's not, to me, that's not horror. That's like I don't know. So I don't think I agree with you. I mean, it's fine, but I Hello Darkness is not what I hoped it would be 2 issues in.
Wow. Really?
It's just not dark, and it's not. It's hardly dark. I mean, we read more horrifying and dastardly and like stuff all the time, like constantly. We do. I mean, so I mean, this isn't to the level of like the Penthouse comic, which didn't even show nudity or penetration. But like, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is like, it feels like a horror anthology, like the Splenda version of horror anthology instead of the Sugar version.
Well,
I
I
don't know.
think that's very clever. I think the stories are more in line with the Boom Hello Darkness than the EC at Oni, which I don't think bear any resemblance or come even close to that pedigree established by EC Comics. I think they're Matt Kint notwithstanding, all of the stories I've read
Right.
have been throwaways. Where this was, I think it was approached with it was an intelligent approach in that you get something is killing the children, an ongoing story, because people who read that are going to buy this, right?
Oh, completist for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was very
Yeah,
smart.
just like the Skybound Town series, yeah.
Yep.
But there's no cachet that comes with this book, unlike the EC books, where if you have EC on the cover, you better step up. Like, I bring your A game and then some. Where these are just well told, well illustrated stories. I mean, I didn't expect them to, revolutionize the horror genre. I think they're the guy with the fucking hand that's erupting from his chest or his belly, that Steve Orlando story. I thought that was very interesting, especially the scene where the hand. David, did you read this?
Yes.
Where the hand is massaging the head of someone giving
The head of the guy giving it, yeah. The head of the head, yeah.
That was great. Like, if I was writing a story with a guy that had a hand coming out of his belly, I would
Yeah,
write that
it's perfect.
scene.
It's right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's perfect. So that alone gave me a bit of joy from the issue. But I think the Garth Ennis story is, it's a universal fear, right? You wake up one morning and the world has changed. That could possibly happen.
And what also, it's not necessarily I want to say it's not the conversation that they're having at the beginning of the story is very today. And
Yeah, they're just people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that gives it that might give you that tingle down your spine because just reading that alone, it's like, okay, you're aware. These people are aware of what's going on in the world. They're concerned. Two of them are about to bring a baby into this world. I get it, and then it might veer on the last page into more science fiction. I'll find out when I get to the end of the second issue, but I thought that it was because it was the most based in reality story. It probably was the one that well, it's definitely the one that shook me the most, because everything else, the bowling alley story just made me want to watch Kingpin again.
Dude, it's bowling. How bad could a bowling story be?
We still got Holy Roller to finish.
I thought it was a fun story.
You would, yes.
Yeah.
I figured you would take it. Yeah, I mean, it was.
The Big Lebowski decides to kill somebody. It's like, all right.
What's wrong with it? No, seriously, no.
Nothing. It just didn't seem clever to me or funny. Like if you're gonna get like
the guy was a bully. He was angry.
I want to either laugh at the darkness or actually be horrified. Like how unbelievably cruel it is. But it's like it was just a dude that like snaps and kills someone with a bullet. Like okay, like and again, I didn't dislike it. It was fine. But I'm like I didn't come away thinking like that's masterful horror for me. It's just like okay.
Well, no, see, but that's the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't have to be masterful because it's just an anthology. Right? It's entertaining.
But it still should evoke something. And the art, I mean,
for me, an anthology is supposed to, go ahead.
Because you can turn the page, you turn the page after the end of it, and we get a Something is Killing the Children story, and Werther's art absolutely lets you move along in that world, and it conveys a sense of dread and uneasiness. But Homeboy, Big Dave, Dan, sorry. Stay in Your Lane did not. I mean, the art there is as expressive as David Cousins' art is. It wasn't. It didn't really move the. It didn't match the story that was being told in my eyes. The art was exaggerated and it was cartoony and it was violent, but it wasn't. It was. It could have been like a Deadpool story where you know that even though he's going on a killing spree, you're still supposed to laugh at the jokes. And this had humorous moments, especially with the last panel and some of the quips that were being said. But it wasn't. I don't know if it necessarily
you guys are
fit in a what?
You guys are rough. Like she's uncompromising.
Yes, we are.
Because
we love anthologies and we want them to do well.
Right. We've talked about recently, like this is like this. We're in a fucking all-time Hall of Fame year for anthologies. How many anthologies have we come on here and talked about have been jaw-droppingly awesome this year? So it's like, you're gonna get like in the grand scheme of things, is this a totally fine anthology? Like, were there vignettes and stories I thought were cool? Sure. Were there some I thought were corny? Yeah. I mean, all in all, like, am I upset I bought and read them? No, but like, to me, this is like it's like a B- in a year where I'm getting A+ every month from the anthology. So
wait,
it's like,
where does the Wes Craig story fall?
Didn't do anything for me.
Oh my God, I can't. I can't. It
Oh,
does not compute.
No, I didn't read the.
Does not
I didn't
compute.
read the second issue yet, so I didn't get there. I mean, I thought the Robert Hack one page was.
Yeah, if
cute.
you're gonna bring somebody in to do horror, Robert Hack's a good guy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, having him do the one page.
I would like to purchase your teeth. That freaked me out.
It's got a little Charles Adams spin to it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Which definitely helps. But yeah, I mean, I think and it was cool to see Something is Killing the Children, of course. The Lighthouse story. Okay. But yeah, the last story, Garth and Becky pretty much saved the issue for me.
To self, do not talk anthologies with these boys.
No, but that's not true. We talk about anthologies every month, and we all talk about how
you're definitely wired too tight. You're going over the edge.
No, because if you go back and listen to if someone goes back and looks at all of the conversation we've had this year, there's been at least 10 episodes where we have all collectively said, "Oh my God, this anthology is incredible! What a great year we're having for anthologies! It's going to be so hard to pick my favorite."
It's for real, and I think this is just another layer on that on that stack. Okay, but let's just put it this way: Thunderdome, 2 anthologies enter, 1 leaves. The EC stuff or this Hello Darkness?
I haven't read it. Because you keep saying it's not good, so I haven't.
Yeah,
if you
don't take
my
my word
an
for
AC
it.
thing, I'm not going to read it. So
no, they're turds. Yeah. Your boy Matt Kint saved the day on the first issue.
Right, but I'm saying
they were very smart to put him in that first issue. Yeah,
because he wrote it and then draw it.
No, he didn't draw it. I'm sorry, I don't remember who drew it, but it's phenomenal. It's not Goran Parlov, but it's of that group. It's very well illustrated. It's beautiful, actually. And the twist is wonderful. You really don't see it coming because you think one character's narrating it, and at the end it turns out to be another character that you never assumed would be the vocal point for this story. It was great.
Nice.
But then the greatness, boop, went right over a cliff because everything after it was not good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to talk about that anymore because people are probably hearing.
Don't talk about that one. Don't talk about one you don't like.
People are probably sick of hearing me slam this Oni EC stuff because I have a soft spot.
I think you're on
Of
record.
course you do.
Yeah, no. If you're gonna brand the book EC and you bring this to the table, you've lost. You're done. Sorry.
I think we should. Yeah, I think we really need to treat these venerable IP from times gone by like with a little more reverence. And I
Am I
it's
right?
probably not fair because I'm sure the people that are relaunching these things are well intended. So it's more about maybe the execution.
I think it's more about exploitation. It's more about squeezing
if that's the
dollars.
case, but
EC
because I think between this and like the last few iterations of Heavy Metal, and then obviously the iteration of Penthouse Comics, like they've just all been like just shadows of what got us to be excited about those names in the first place.
Yeah. But okay, I'll shut up. I in my mind, I think you just tally the greats that worked on those original EC books: Wally Wood, Jack Davis, Johnny Craig, Graham Ingalls, Al Feldstein, Harvey Kurtzman. There's not an artist working today that can hold a candle to any of those guys, any of them. And so you're going to launch an anthology with that EC label on the front and expect you're doomed to failure before you even start. So don't.
Yeah.
Did they just like use the name, or were the stories laid out like 6 panels, 4 or 5 page stories? Like were they just?
No, it's just the name. The typography is the approach to the cover paintings are not anywhere near what EC did not do full process colors. They just did standard spot colors. Marie Severin, God rest her soul, was the one who did all the colors, and they're great, but they're in the classic pen and ink with the spot color process in that vein. It was 4 color, but still, it was limited color because all the colors had to be hand cut out of rubylith. So it was just, now you just, with digital plate making, they just, we'll use a painting for the cover. There was no paintings on the cover for EC books. It was all line work. It's ridiculous. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Facts.
So yeah, I'm butthurt. This EC stuff at Oni has really soured me.
That's a bummer.
I know, but let's talk about stuff we love.
Let's do it.
Well, Dap, do you have anything that you want to sing its praises? Because Jason's not doing it. How about this? Let's look at something you both read.
We just talked about Cape Fury. We just did that.
Yeah, but that's the only thing, isn't it? No, you both read Absolute Power. How about what's this Absolute Power?
We've got Nightclub 2, number 1. We both read. Yeah. It was on the previous list, but yeah.
How about that? Yes, yeah. Tell me about that.
What, Nightclub 2?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't have it on my list anymore for a reason. So I'll let that
go. Nice.
No, I thought it was. No. Oh shit, it wasn't. No, okay. All right, then let's do Absolute Power.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I mean, I'll just say real quickly because doing this, man, it's like I thought it was fine, but I didn't think it didn't like in the Millerverse world of like the first issue didn't make me like, damn, I can't wait to see this this arc. I was like, okay. Like,
this is how strange I am because the Millerverse stuff started at Image, specifically Nightclub. Now that it's at Dark Horse, I'm like, fuck that book.
Doesn't
I'm not
register.
reading it.
Yeah.
And I have no ill will towards Dark Horse. I really like.
Right.
I like the company.
Doesn't seem like it's the right fit.
No, it
just
doesn't. But it's just like.
Not to be that guy, but Millerverse's stuff started at Icon at Marvel, and then moved to Image, and then.
But that
Well,
was
yeah,
right.
but
That was with Nemesis. Yeah, but I mean this new
And Kick-Ass,
nexus
yeah.
of books. The big
Right,
crossover,
right.
the
No, I
big
get you,
game
yeah.
books all started in Image, with the exception of Nemesis.
I thought, and obviously wrongly, that maybe Big Game would have been kind of like the big crescendo, and not that he would have moved on or created something new or just left that like universe alone, because we barely got any breathing room between the end of Big Game and the continuation of things like Nemesis and Prodigy and Nightclub. But at least Nightclub retained the artist from the first miniseries. So at least visually, it looks like we really haven't missed a step.
For sure.
But
Let's be
as far
totally
as the
honest,
story
though.
goes.
If the culmination of your storytelling is drawn by Pepe Larraz, you're done.
Yeah, you're
You're done. You're finished.
That's another reason why I felt
Yeah.
like that was pretty much it. Now we can move on to something new.
Yep.
Well, there's this whole thing going on too, like the movement of Dark Horse, which in the past would have been like totally fine, right? Like, okay, whatever, you go from Image to Dark Horse. But with where Dark Horse is right now, and the fact that these books are literally buried in little tiny,
It's sad.
3-inch solicits with no cover image, it's this is where I do wish we still had the Diamond sales numbers, because I get the vibe that like this move has gone almost like if a tree falls in the woods, right? Like I don't, like nobody's talking about these books. I mean, I almost missed when they were first re-solicited. I almost missed that they were solicited. And then when I posted in the previews Slack thing about what I was going to order that month, a lot of people were like, "Oh snap! I didn't realize that Miller was relaunching new titles over at Dark Horse." And I was listening to a podcast with the Challengers guys in Chicago, and they were mentioning that nobody's pre-ordering them, and they brought it up because the leading up to the big game, those were super hot books. I mean, everybody was not everybody, a lot of people were into them. So yeah, it just feels like a weird thing, like to move to Dark Horse at a time when Dark Horse has never been less relevant, just in terms of marketing. I'm not talking about like the quality of the books. I'm just saying like their marketing budget and their ability to reach audiences and proactively seems completely at an all-time low. So it's pretty weird.
Yeah, it's actually sad, because there was a time, and I know the industry has its up and downs, and publishers wax and they wane and they wax again. But there was a time when I valued Dark Horse more than Image.
Right.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dark Horse was the hotness with those small footprint omnibus editions that they were doing. I would buy all of those things, whether I had any interest in Terminator or the Comics Greatest World. Like, screw it, I buy them all, because they were cost effective, and it gave you a nice wide angle view of all of the things Dark Horse has published over the years. And I really think when they lost Star Wars, not that I'm sure it wasn't a giant cash cow for them, but I think when they lost Star Wars, it was like the beginning of the downward spiral.
Yeah,
Shortly after that was Conan.
Yep.
Right.
And
they're
Aliens and the Predator, and
for my money, their Conan is better than what's coming out of Titan right now.
Titan. Yeah.
I mean, there was a time. I mean, even the Comics Greatest World stuff. Those issues, you got one issue a week. It was $1. It wasn't a full size 22-page comic, but it had cardstock covers.
Yeah.
And every issue was pretty freaking dense for what you were getting. So then to put that in an omnibus like that with all of them together, man, that could take you months to finish.
It was exhausting to read because there was so much going on. Yeah. But I mean, that's where Ghost and Barbed Wire came from.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they're not
Barbed Wire
household
and
names,
X.
but yeah,
DHP was the bomb, dude.
for real.
Oh, that's true. Absolutely.
It was a weird anthology because it not only gave you some kind of a superhero angle, but it was also alt comics Like,
Yeah, it was. It
let's
was definitely. Yep. I hope it does. I hope it's remembered. I hope it gets its proper place in history as people look back on it.
right. I'm sure there's some kind of rights issues involved, but
Mm-hmm.
I think Mike Richardson should embark on a reprinting of Dark Horse Presents from the first issue right to the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
'cause I mean,
great.
aside
And
from
Dark Horse does those great oversized hardcovers for all their premiere books, and I'd love to
Yep.
see that. A version of
And
that.
while we're on the subject of Dark Horse Presents, we got to pour one out for one of our own. Bernie Moreau
Yeah, Bernie Mireault,
has
yeah.
passed.
thank you. Yeah.
BEM, the Bug-Eyed Monster himself, the Jam, his work with Matt Wagner on Grendel. It was just like
It was actually sad to hear that they had a falling out. Matt.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
This week in
I
paying homage to him. Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that because of when I met and spoke with the John K. Snyder the third as he was working on the jam to set up the jam piece. He told me I did send Bernie an email shortly after we got back from Heroes because he said, reach out to Bernie.
Right.
He'll get a kick out of doing this. And I don't know how the logistics will be like, but at least reach out, which I did. But the way John was explaining those good old days and how things were, if he knew that there was any sort of animosity between the two from way back when, he didn't lead into that. He didn't let me know, and he didn't say anything about it. So I don't even know if he knew. But yeah, for Matt to publicly say that he respects the work, and yeah, there was a falling out however long ago. I guess it never really got patched up, but he still respectfully admired the man, admired his work, and yeah, he, like so many other people have said, like Ty Templeton and others, it's like he just never he was almost like he was too good for comics. People didn't know what they were missing by pretty much ignoring Bernie's work.
I completely understand that. You want to reach an audience. You want them to acknowledge that signal you're sending out. But when it doesn't happen,
It can be gutty.
it can be. But yeah, I don't. I would think that an
have to have the right
artist would
mindset
be
for
of
it.
sterner stuff than that.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
that's the thing.
you don't get into that arena not being able to take
You can't be
criticism, constructive or not.
Yep.
And I don't want to cast a shadow over the man, over what happened, right? Because I think he was a great artist, but yeah, and it hurts my heart that he's gone. Not only for me, but it would have been awesome if he did that jam piece for you, right?
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Getting back to your original question of Absolute Power 3, so this is the third of 5 issues of this event. Dap and I think it's
No,
fair to
4.
say both-
This is only 4.
Oh, it's only 4, dude?
Yeah. Bummer, but yeah.
No, 4.
It is. Yep.
Oh, snap. Well,
That's what I said.
that's even...
It's
Oh,
a week
damn,
of
okay.
penultimate issues. Yeah.
Oh, there, yeah. So, okay, well, then that even... Okay, so it's interesting because, like, in this issue, the heroes do start to ever so slightly turn the tide. You start to see glimpses of how they're going to get out of this, and I guess it makes sense then, because then, okay, if there's a next issue will be them winning the day. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I will say that in a world of decompressed storytelling, and I think we've mentioned this with the first and the second issue as well. This is anything but that, right? And I guess the fact that it's 4 issues even more compounds that fact. I mean, we are getting a ton of story. Lots of big doings are happening in one panel and then moving on. And I find that very refreshing, right? Because but I mean, it is definitely a totally different vibe from an event standpoint, and I'm here for it. Like if it feels, and I said this out of the first issue, so I'm repeating myself, but it feels epic. It feels important. It feels like a really daunting set of foes that actually have the upper hand. And yeah, I mean, and Dan Moore, of course, is like an absolute freak. The guy, not only is he like the fastest artist on the planet, but he always looks great. And I think the characters that are new, I feel like we understand them. They've done a nice job at that, which is, again, Wade is a great superhero writer. So I'm here for it, man. Like, I can't wait for the 4th issue. I thought I had 2 more, but so far so good for me. I mean, this is certainly going to be up there in the last. I haven't done a ranking of like the events of the last 10 years, but it's a fairly low bar, and this will be up there. I mean, as long as they stick the landing for me.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, though, but isn't this Mini the impetus or the launching pad for the Absolute Universe? Those books that are coming out, Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman. Like, isn't this the wellspring from where these books are going to come?
I don't think so. I mean, all the Absolute stories are Elseworlds. It's like an entirely new universe. It's like
Exactly.
well, this isn't.
I don't think we're going to get. I don't think.
No,
No, this isn't going to. We're not getting a crisis post-crisis event out of this.
That's why they didn't call this crisis. It's not a crisis thing. We just had.
Well, that's an unfortunate
last year
naming convention. Then,
but they always do that. I mean, because they brought back All Star. They're doing the world's finest collections, which are pretty much going to be like the Marvel Epic line.
Because they've always had, and they've had the Absolute editions. I mean, Absolute has always been their premier thing. Just like Ultimate is, it's their.
It's kind of confusing because if you call this Absolute Power and then it's followed up by Absolute versions of the Trinity, it's weird.
Well, I'll look up the Absolute stuff later. Right, the Absolute stuff is a wait and see for me. But I mean, I'm based on the creative teams. It's
right. I mean, the Absolute Universe is very much a new continuity separate from the DCU. So it has nothing to do with this.
I mean,
so it's like the All Star line.
Yeah, you knew I was going to say this, but they're all a no-go for me.
No, I get that, and I feel bad because as we said, I don't want to harsh other people's careers. I'm going to try them all the first issues because the creative teams look great, but based on the little that we know of the plans for the characters, though, I'm likely not going to stick around either. I don't need more.
I'm sure they're going to look good, though. But
they will. That's what I'm saying. The creative teams are great.
Yeah.
They're definitely doing that right. And again, I'm not going to relitigate my views on like the point of all this, but if people are entertained by it, that's all the reason that we need to have for it to exist. But yeah, we'll see. I don't, it wouldn't be the first time I say I'm not interested in something, then I read the first issue and I'm like, I'm in. So it's totally possible, but I don't expect. I'm not planning on them knocking me on my ass.
Can I use that at a future date? Relitigate. I like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's like reiterate, but not.
Yeah,
but not.
Yeah,
not exactly, but yeah.
Look at you.
Let me see what else I got on my list.
All grown up and stuff.
I try. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Vince, you know what I did this week to cleanse the palate?
I don't know.
Well, I don't want to sound like a downer. We've all talked about the X reboot, and I'm not going to go down that road again. But we have had yet another of the books, which is Exceptional X-Men, and I'll just say it's more of the same.
It's not exceptional in any way.
It is neither. Yeah, it's not exceptional. It is X-Men, I guess, but I was going to say it's neither exceptional or X-Men. No, it is in fact X-Men, but it's not. I wouldn't call it exceptional. Anyway, but I was like, you know what? I've now concluded after reading all of these first issues that this era, the Brevoort era, is not going to be for me, and that's okay. Hopefully, it's for someone else. But I went and I pulled off the shrink wrap on my beautiful hardcover collection of the Uncanny X-Force by Remender and Friends, and I cracked it open and I read the first 10 of the 30 issues in this first volume and was just completely overjoyed and reminded of how much I love characters when. So it was great.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Definitely one of the best like if you're ranking things that weren't titled X-Men, it's absolutely right up there with, in my opinion, it's right up there as one of the all-time greatest arcs.
Yeah. I have a weird book. If
I'm always intrigued when I look at your guys' list and I don't literally recognize the name of something. So I'm like, I feel like I scour the solicits for things and I'm like, I've never heard of this.
It's really strange. It's a Skybound book. And
it is?
Yes, it's called Mr. It's a Skybound, yeah. It's called Mr. Lovenstein Presents Feelings by J.L. Westover. And I got the promo from whoever sends us the promos, and I started reading it, and I'm like, wait a minute. I've seen this art before. Like,
it was Kickstarter for the record, I guess, in the announce, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I've seen these things, they become memes. Like, I swear that there has been someone within the Slack meme channel that has posted some of this art. and it's just really dark humor. There's a guy in a car, and Death is riding shotgun, and he's like, it says, "You're not going to put your seatbelt on?" And the guy's like, "Nah." Death says, "You're such a flirt." And then there's an afterword. I guess these things are 3-panel strips, but there's an afterword that is just black and white line art. Like all of the strips are in color, and then the afterwords are just black and white. And the afterword to this strip is Death is overjoyed. He's like, "Oh my gosh, are you texting?" It's just more of the same. But I was like, this book brought me great joy because I love dark humor. Like, dark humor is my thing. And if I can't predict where a strip is going, or if there's if the lever of the joke is something really strange and I would never think to do it, you got me, right? There's a muscle man, and he's all buffed out and roided, and this guy comes up to him and says, "Dang, how'd you get them gains, boy?" And the bodybuilder says, "No pain, no gain, and I am in constant pain." And the payoff is the last panel. He's crying and he's flexing, and he says, "Emotionally." Yeah. And then the afterword is, the guy says, "That's hella sad, but those abs be popping though." And the guy says, "Thanks." And he just a little tear. What little this book is a source of joy. I never predicted this. I didn't expect it. It landed in my email inbox, and I read it, and I thought it was really funny. Like, I got some honest to goodness laughs out of this thing. Dap, you know this guy's work. You have to have seen it. It's very simple, very clean line. All of the characters are. It kind of looks like Keith Haring in a way, where it's very simple drawing, very basic coloring. Like most of the characters are flat colored. It's not unlike a lot of the art you see online, but the character design is really cool.
This was a Kickstarter.
Yeah,
that's what I just said. Yeah, it raised $250,000.
There's a strip with 2 coffins, and you kind of don't know they're coffins in the first panel because you just see the flat top and the 2 angles, and one says, "I feel dead inside," and the other says, "Man, you need to open up."
Yep.
And he opens up, and a body falls out of it. And one says, "Much better." It's, call me easily amused, but I think this stuff is great.
I might have even seen this at Heroes at one point, but yes, no, this art is whether they're
a lot of memes, right?
Yeah. I'll see it all over the place on Let Me World or Reddit, but yeah, you can. I'm glad that I'm glad it was crowdfunded, but I'm glad that that Skybound was able to publish it and get it out to more people possibly. But yeah, because it's available on Amazon and everything. But I don't know why. I think I probably didn't order this because he crowdfunded previous volumes, and I think at that point I didn't feel like catching up and back.
Well, this is baffling. This whole thing is baffling because it's like, this is not only do I not remember it being solicited, but like you said, it's a Skybound book, and I certainly, it's not like I don't read the Skybound solicits intently.
And we get the Skybound PDFs.
We get the Skybound comps. So I have this in my inbox. But I just don't even remember it existing. That's crazy.
There's 2 guys, and one of them says, "You like rock?" And he has a shirt, and it says "piss," but it has the Nazi SS like kiss. And the one guy said, "Dude, I love rock." He's like, "Hell yeah, rock's the best." And there's a rock on the ground, and he's crying because they've accepted him. And then the afterword is, "What about metal?" "Yeah, metal rules." And there's a tin can on the ground. and the can is like, "Yeah, this is it." I love this stuff. I think it's great.
It's the little pleasures.
It is
Smoke
like
from
you
your
can't
damned
you can't
fire,
really
yeah.
explain how these things connect. Like if you have to
Sure.
explain the joke kind of falls flat.
Mhm,
And I realize that's exactly what I'm doing here. But if you're in the mood for just some light, it's not really light, it's dark.
Right, right.
For some
Yeah.
dark humor that, I
Mhm.
think will tickle that acerbic funny bone that I think a lot of us have. There's a strip with
'Cause I-
Jesus in it. And Jesus gives a guy, he goes, "This is my blood." And the guy's like, "Sick." He goes, "Just kidding. It's wine." And the guy breaks the bottle. He goes, "I want blood." And the afterword is Jesus says, "How about my body?" And the guy says, "You're not even trying." So stupid.
the hell?
Yeah, it's weird. So, I mean, just to reiterate, it is called Mr. Lovenstein Presents Feelings, and there's a sweaty, crying man on the front, and it's by J.L. Westover. Lots of fun.
Nice.
You got a couple bucks
See-
burning a hole in your pocket, and you're at the comic shop. Pick this up. I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, 2-3
Yeah,
shekels.
Yeah.
The very first I'm gonna read the PDF and then decide if I need a hard copy of it. But I remember the very first strip with the penguin and his or the puffin and his bird friend about the Walking Buds Club, because he's like,
Yes.
"Oh no, I could at anybody that one slayed me from the very first time I ever
Yeah.
read it." So I mean, I've always been a fan of this dude's work.
And he almost made him the same shirt because neither of us can swim. So stupid. It is dumb. It's a good kind of dumb, though. But what I get out of this is someone can change your world at a distance with just simple line and flat color. It doesn't take a Kirby level talent to change anyone's world. It's very simple. If you have an idea and the means to render it like this, you can influence people all over the planet. And art is wonderful, and that's what this is. This just shows me that it resonates. Like, I didn't even know about this stuff, and it just pops up, and it's like, I definitely was not in the same state after I read it as I was before I read it. This guy has changed my world. So
Beautiful.
that's pretty powerful stuff. Like, okay, he's not curing cancer with this book, right? But he's making people feel something, whether it's dark joy or, real oddball humor. You are not in the same state you were when you finished it as you were when you started it. I love that stuff. This is the power of art. So, yeah.
Love it.
Something that I love, just getting back to absolute power. We know how good Wade can be, especially when he starts digging in the crates and pulling things out that you may not think about. It's in the back of your mind, you remember it, but you may not expect to see it. My man, he brought back Black Mercy because they used that damn flower from For the Man Who Has Everything to take down Bizarro.
Yep.
That blew me away because Bizarro was going roughshod, killing Aquaman, killing Wonder Woman, just like thrashing people about, and then we realize that it's all in his head, and this way, and Red Tornado's running around with Aztec's helmet. It was just this was a fantastic issue because Waller's world is crumbling down. There's just and what I meant to say before when we were talking about it, that even though I'm pretty much only reading this miniseries, I haven't delved into Absolute Task Force or whatever that is, or I haven't read too many tie-ins, and thankfully there aren't a ton. And yeah, I'm getting the Superman issues, but even though they might throw something out there, someone will mention. So when Zatanna shows up, and she tells Nightwing, yeah, me and Superman were taking the back roads, and now we know how to get around everywhere. Obviously, that took place in Superman's book, but you didn't get bogged down. You can still feel like you're getting everything so far within these 3 issues, just the main story, without having to read every tie-in. And I think that's another good sign for this. It's another positive for this series, because we've read so many events over the years where if you're not reading the tie-ins, you're missing everything that anybody might be talking about inside the main series.
Did Bizarro kill Aquaman because he makes bad movies?
Yeah.
Dude, those movies are horrible.
They really are.
They are horrible.
There's a really tense scene between Barda and Nightwing. Yeah, it's because she's like, listen, we got to take John out. If he shows up on Themyscira, then he can't, because obviously the magic surrounds the island, and so it should be invisible to John's eyes, because he's traveling the globe, trying to find all the heroes, and so they're hanging out here on Paradise Island, and Bart is like, yo, if I've got a kryptonite bullet, if my man shows up, he's going down. And Nightwing's like, over my dead body. So he's like, I'm in charge. You're not killing him. It's a last resort option, so don't even put it in your mind. And then of course she's like, well, if he goes on a killing spree, the blood's on your hands. And he's like, yeah, whatever. So he walks away. She walks away, and she's about to pull the trigger and put John out of his misery. But just like Batman, he's learned from his father. Nightwing knew what was going to happen, and if he didn't want to risk the plan being overheard, if he explained to Barda why she can't kill him, and I really, really enjoyed the way this whole issue played out. So yeah, this was definitely one of the best things I read this week. Not that I wanted to circle all the way back to this, but I still had it up on the screen, and we were talking about other things.
Addendum is always welcome. Who doesn't love addendums?
Addendums,
right?
That have a colon with it.
Only if you're lucky.
Only if you're lucky.
Hey everybody, we're so glad that you were here with us this time around. We hope you come back next time. Please, if you want to buy your collected editions on the cheap, there's only one place to go. Not Amazon, no, because this place has, do the research, lower prices than Amazon. It's cheapgraphicnovels.com. If you're looking for an omnibus edition, trade paperback, manga, collected edition, any of that kind of stuff, go to cheapgraphicnovels.com, because they will have it for less than the other guys. Also, check out the Nick and Dent sale, the bargain bin. Guaranteed you will find something to take home. You are a comic fan, are you not? And while you're there, if it's your first time, send a reply to the email confirmation and saying 11 o'clock comics sent me, and you will get free shipping on your next order. You're welcome, right?
That's right.
Also, get some slack into your life. And there's only one way to do that, is to become a patron to 11 o'clock comics. You go to patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. And we have 2 tiers. It's really simple. We've pared everything down. The $5 tier gets you the Book of the Month episode and the multi-hour behind the scenes shit that nobody hears episode. That's proving to be popular. Well, I don't want to, show you how the sausage is made, but we stopped it for a little while, and then we brought it back, and it seems to be instigating some excitement among the slackers. And then if you want to join the Slack, it's $10. You get those bonus episodes, and you get access to the Slack. What does that mean? Access to the Slack? Well, it is an instant messaging service where you can not only communicate with like-minded individuals, but it also allows the addition of links. That's where the talking and the communicating is great, but in addition to that, you get art. You get pages every day. You get covers every day. You get downloads where you can download a vintage fanzine every day, or an out-of-print comic that no one's losing money on and you'll never ever see reprinted again. You can download that every day. It's like, so you're sitting at home looking out the window, picking your ass, thinking, what am I going to read? I've read all the stuff on my stack here. What am I going to read? Oh, here's another free comic every frickin' day. Check it out. It's fun. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. Also, leave us a review. Wherever you heard this, leave us a review. If you loved it, you hated it, I don't really care. Leave us a review. Because it's important, and maybe if you're stern and harsh enough, we'll take your words to heart. Maybe you have the right idea. Who knows? You could be right. We could be wrong. It's a possibility, however slim. So check it out, or do that. In your travels, DAP dropped the best thing I read all week thing. And I'm going to say that this was definitely, by far, the best thing I have read all week, clocking in at 300 pages for a paltry $24.99. I entered into a dialogue with this magazine when my box came. It's not even a magazine; it's a book at this point. Or the Japanese call it a MOOC, magazine book hybrid. It's square bound. It has it's perfect bound. It has white pages. It's wonderful. But the point I'm trying to make is, this magazine has been around for a long time, and I have devoured every issue. It has not been all that great in my estimation, with the last maybe 3-4 releases. There wasn't a whole lot that drew me in. This is not that case. This is the Comics Journal, number 310, with a long, I'm talking massive career overview by Gary Groth and interview conducted by Gary with the master, Gerald Scarfe. And if you don't know who Gerald Scarfe is, oh boy, where do I start? Editorial cartoonist, animator, character designer, set designer, director, sculptor. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. If you have seen Pink Floyd's The Wall, the movie, Gerald Scarfe did all of the character design for the mother, the wife, all of the Hammers, and the school marm. He's been on the cover of Time magazine. Gerald Scarfe is a big frickin' deal. And Gary just interviews him for what seemed like 4 hours. I mean, the interview goes on forever, and it covers all of the controversy around his art, because Scarfe had been the subject of censorship for a good portion of his career. Like, he doesn't pull any punches, and he's brutal in his assessment of political figures. And you get that in here. It's just an amazing interview, but that's not all that's in here. There are reviews of Ethan Van Sciver's books. You have...
Oich.
What?
I said, oich.
Ethan or Noah?
Oh, I'm sorry. Noah. Why would I say Ethan?
Oh,
There we
you said
go.
Ethan.
Yeah,
I was
no.
like, Jesus.
Why would
Yeah.
the journal's not going to...
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Right.
Unless they
Yeah.
wanted to make fun of it.
not
That's
weird.
why
Okay, yeah.
when you said no, I was, ooh, there is. I
Right.
mean, it's called the Comics Journal, so there should be comics in it, and there are. By Ailey Erico, there's a pretty long strip, maybe 8 pages of. It's called "You Get Me Closer to God: Explaining Music to Dogs," and it's basically her loving music but being really, really bad at playing music. And the strip details how music has influenced her life in a multitude of ways. And the finale is it's really beautiful. I don't want to say any more about it. I think you should read this strip. It's black and white, and it looks like it was done in pencil. It's really sharp. It's a great little strip, and it goes through like all of the boyfriends she's had during a certain period, and how she segs from listening to a certain type of music to like maybe ska, and then she found the joys of Nine Inch Nails, and then the Doors, and all that entails. It's, if you love music, you're going to get a lot of this strip. It's going to resonate with you. There's also Lale Westvins in here, in conversation with Aidan Koch, which is awesome. You should definitely read that. Like I said, a bunch of reviews. There's a sketchbook in here from Jess Johnson, who was a young artist, a trans artist, who unfortunately died in 2016. And this is their art, and part of it is very sexual, questioning, seeking. This is a phenomenal issue. It's what, when I think of the Comics Journal, I think of issues like this, where you can just dig into a long ass interview by one of the all-time greats. Scarf is like a monster. His line is gorgeous. They keep it real. There's also a pretty long article on Bill Jemus's tenure at Marvel. It's called The Rashomon of Bill Jemus, 4 Portraits of a Marvel Age. Yeah, this is just a kicking issue. Like I said, $24.99, 300 pages. This will keep you busy. I just scratched the surface. I read, maybe a third of it, and there's much, much more here to occupy my time. So Comics Journal 310, yeah, they're back in top form.
Get it.
That's great. Since we already mentioned Bernie, BEM, and we already talked about a couple other books that are close to finishing. Grendel Devil's Crucible, Defiance number 3. I am really glad that this is part of a 12-issue story, because this progressed the story along nicely, but there's still a lot more story to tell, and they wouldn't be able to do it. I don't, as talented as Matt is, I don't think he'd be able to get everything he wanted to get done, unless it was going to be like a 128-page issue in the 4th issue. So obviously, the first part of this trilogy is concluding, although I'm sure it will be, the overall story will be continuing. But this one, we had some drama, some danger. We've got vampires attacking old vampires, because one's got the floppiest tits you've ever seen, although the other dude is really his balls hang down longer than than the Frank does. But they attack our heroes, slicing Ptolemy, although she does get saved, and because she's not bitten, she doesn't turn. But we get we find out a little bit more about the cathedral where the vampires, the rich or the powerful at least, reside, and how they continue to propagate, and there's a family of 6, a mother, a father, and their 4 children, who are trying to they want to pay tribute to the Necro Lords, and the requirements are severe, but the family is destitute, and he says, so the Reverend Magistrate is telling them that, you'll never again want for anything sustenance, warmth, entertainment. Everything is here. Whatever you need. The cost can be high, although it's a fraction of the bodily fluids that you won't even miss. But enrollment is limited to groups of 5. Both parents are mandatory to for admittance. Older offsprings are preferred because of their hardiness, but the weakest is basically the weakest and the youngest is the entry fee, and so mom says goodbye to the youngest child, and and she swiftly gets gets sacrificed, and while that's happening, Paladin is making his way with his 2 new friends to to their home, which is basically an old rundown Grendel's palace tower, but their base of operations is underground. And Harry is he actually finds out he the mystery unravels for him, and he it finally clicks that the person that they are journeying with is Grendel Prime, is the one who was there with Orion, and they, so we get a quick little a couple of words about Grendel's origin, Grendel Prime's origins, and so there's a nice little callback. No visual montage, but Harry kind of gets everybody, the reader, up to speed in case they haven't um, been reading about a character that's over 20 years old. And we the whole way to get into the bunker is pretty neat. There's a retinal scan and a simple blood test because vampires don't bleed, so they shouldn't be able to enter. Although Paladin probably cannot either. And then we get down to the basement where we're introduced to another character. So yeah, it's this new world is growing, it's expanding. We're getting some new characters. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the hell the 4th issue cover means. So I can't wait to get that issue in my hands. But it's again, I'm glad to have some new Grendel. I because I know it's pretty much a 12 issue series cut up into 3 chunks of 4. I know that we're really not getting a conclusion with the next issue, although I'm still really looking forward to the next chapter. But yeah, in your travels, Grendel, Devil's Crucible, Defiance, number 3.
This book
You live in a
makes
world of really long comic titles.
yeah.
We really do.
This book makes me sad.
Stop it!
It does.
Oh, you don't care for it?
It's not a good look.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
In your travels, if you want something that is certainly curling my toes, check out the Nice House by the Sea, which for many of you know is the
I thought it was
follow-on
Lake.
to.
Oh, never
No,
mind.
this is the follow up.
Sorry.
If you know, it's
Shut
a
up.
follow-on to the Nice House on the Lake. This is the Nice House by the Sea. Same creative team. You have James Tynan, who's writing it, and Alvaro Bueno, who is the artiste. And it's really interesting because the first issue is a completely different set of characters. It's there's a new same timeline, right? Which is that these are people that are in a house, and the house is kind of out of reality. It's a pocket, as the world has been destroyed by this alien, alien overlords, and much like in Nice House on the Lake, where Walter, who is this alien living amongst the people, is he over his life he collects a bunch of friends and then puts them all into this house, and then everything that unfolds there. Well, in this one, it's a little different because there's another alien. Her name is Max, and she's handpicked a bunch of people to live in this house. But the people she handpicked, she has no personal relationship with. They're just who she deems is greats, people who are like the best in the world at what they do. So it's a very interesting, totally different dynamic. And I assumed incorrectly, as it turns out, after reading the first issue, that this would just pretty much be like a totally different story set in the same world, with different characters and unfolding. But in the second issue, we are right back in to the nice house on the lake, and we are picking up right where the final where that series left off, and kind of getting caught up with what they're dealing with now that Walter is no longer around, and and then it becomes evident as the issue goes on that we are going to see these worlds collide. These groups of people are going to come across one another, and I totally didn't see that coming. So it's awesome. I would say that if you're the only nit I would have for it is that the Nice House on the Lake was a pretty complicated story with lots of characters, and this is adding another set of characters on top of that. So you really do need. I mean, I went back and read the Nice House on the Lake after the second issue because I was like, I gotta catch back up on who some of these people were and where we were left off with them. But yeah, I just love this setting. I mean, again, it's a pretty easy equation here. If you were a fan of the Nice House on the Lake, you're gonna love this. It's a perfect pick. It just continues pace. And if the Nice House on the Lake didn't, if you weren't vibing with that, there's no reason to think you'd vibe with this.
Large cast of characters. How many?
Well, in the Nice House on the Lake, there was Walter, Nora, Ryan,
It's like 8.
Molly, Veronica. More than that. I'm thinking
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 12. There's 12 characters, including Walter, who was the godlike protagonist, or not the godlike sort of being that pulls them together. And then in this, by the sea, there's Max, and then another. I'd have to go back and count, but I think it's like 8. We meet, I think, either 8 or 10. So yeah,
Jeez.
so now a few of them have died. I mean, spoilers, a few died in the first series. So, but we're probably dealing with almost 20 characters, in what's a pretty intimate setting. So you gotta have your
This is Tynan?
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. So I should read this.
Well, again, you've chosen over the last 2.5 years not to try Nice House on the Lake, so I would first, it makes sense to pick this up. It'd be like picking up the 13th issue of a series and having no idea what's going on.
Well, no, I'd have to go back to the source.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I will.
DC Black Label getting it done. I would dare say it's the best imprint in business right now.
Of the big two.
No,
What?
I think just in terms of their hit rate, I think because I mean, Image is my favorite publisher, but Image puts out an ungodly amount of books, right? I mean,
You're tripping. You're tripping.
So I would say for me, there's more Image books I enjoy each month, but there's plenty of Image books that don't connect with me. But Black Label, I think everyone's a banger. I'm hard pressed to think one I didn't think was a banger. So,
Huh? How about that?
I know that's alien to you, Mr. Anti-DC, but yeah,
I'm not.
get it done.
Maybe I am. Maybe I am anti-DC.
Oh, you are.
Maybe.
Hey, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this, like a whole bunch. And you come back next week because we'll be here for you. Do yourself a huge, massive favor. Get yourself to a comic book shop. Even if you're not feeling it, just go. Take a look around because I guarantee you something's going to jump out and you're going to take it home. You're going to love it. You're going to just get all infused by the joy of sequential storytelling. You're going to get online and talk about it. And what better place to talk about it than on our Facebook forum or maybe Twitter or the Insta. Remember, we're on Insta. I post stuff on Insta all the time. And we get likes, but rarely do we get a comment. We just got one last time, and it was noteworthy because it is rare to get a comment on Instagram where Sterling, I won't reveal his last name in case he doesn't want to have that out there, but he's like, how about doing a show on heir apparents, like, say, Bernie Wrightson and Matthew Allison, like artists that have taken up the reins of a particular style from someone who is no longer with us. I think that's a good idea. That's a fun idea. Like Buscema and De La Torre on Conan.
De La Torre, yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of guys that, while some of them do a very close approximation of the original, there are some guys out there that do a very subtle approximation. So yeah, we could do that. That's fun. But anyway, maybe come to the Slack and talk about it. But in the meantime, you know the drill. Say good night.
Emotional damage.
Where's the Barbara? How come Barbara's not on here? Oh, here it is.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
David.
Fuck to and spit on that thing.
The most cumbersome use of a soundboard ever. Ever. That was just a total train wreck. It's not good that Jason has access to the soundboard. Could I limit access to the soundboard? Okay. Don't. You did the sad horn. Never use the sad horn on me.
David.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Youngster. Don't abuse the privilege.
It's like a kid with a toy.
We love you so much. Come back next time. Tell them you love them.
So much,
Love
yeah,
'em.
for sure.
You and you and you.
September.
It's the best month.
It's almost Heroes.
Yes.
Or not Heroes.
No,
NYCC.
about a month and a week, yeah.
Yeah. Can't wait. Been too
We
long.
got to
since I've
announce
been-
the book of the- we got to announce the book of the month.
So
We got to do that.
So we like right this minute.
No, I'm saying, but we got to do that soon.
What is it anyway?
Oh, that guy just, man, I got to dig it up now.
You don't have to. I mean, it's not a
I
requirement.
didn't mean the second. I just meant.
No,
I just
yes,
meant
we'll
some-
discuss.
yeah.
No, I mean we have the list. I just don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah.
Actually, no, what else? I'll save this. For
I think the next one was What It Is by Ms. Barry. Wasn't it? Wasn't that the next one?
I mean, it's right next to me, as is Berlin. It might have been, or it might have been another manga. But yeah,
it's
we'll
okay.
figure it out.
We could do that.
We've got the list. Don't worry. It's we know what it is.
It's not Linda
It's
Barry.
looming.
Should be Linda Barry.
It could be.
It's probably not. You make me wait
God
for
forbid
that.
we call an audible for a change.
What's that mean? An audible. Switch it
Bro,
up,
what?
change it. I've heard that a million times, and I don't know what it means.
Yes, an audible is a unplanned play at the line of scrimmage based on the quarterback seeing the defense being ready for the play they were going to run.
Okay,
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Robot, how the frig would I know
happy
that?
you asked?
Seriously, how would I know that?
I mean, like
I thought it
because
was
you
something
watch-
to do with books on digital books.
Well, yes, there is an audible
Oh my God!
Amazon company, but yes, that's not what they mean when they say pull an audible.
I didn't know that. I don't know football.
Your kid plays it.
So, does that mean that all of the sum total of all football knowledge is just shunted into my brain
Yeah,
because my
Taylor
kid...
Swift knows what an audible is.
Okay.
Well, the whole thing is that the whole joke is that Taylor Swift, because she's dating Travis Kelce now, since this is year 2 and they got to keep making it interesting, now the narrative is like, oh man, you guys should hear about how interested she is in football. She's been really learning all the nuance. I'm sure she's fucking looking at all 22 film in between her concerts. I'm sure that's what she's doing.
Oh, you're so cheap.
I love Tay-Tay, but I just think we
Me
don't
too.
need to, she doesn't need to be a football expert just because she's
She's-
rooting for her.
She's cute as a button.
Yeah, right. That's definitely your type.
100%.
That's it for that one.